We've been through different things in VueJS right now, and I think it's a time that we just quickly take a look at how it works behind the scene, the things we don't really see that much, right? So if you want to follow on my screen, if you want to go to this, you can just search for VueJS and then something called a lifecycle hook or the Vue instance, and you should get to this point. Now, we covered some of these things down here, and I could have started with this, but maybe this will make more sense when you see it now than if you saw it before before all of these videos. Now this, we know, it's creating the new Vue instance here. They have just created a variable to store it within. We haven't, but if we wanted to, we can quickly just do it up here. So for example, if we want to store our entire Vue inside a variable, we would just do that, and bam, then we can reference this, print out specific, so you can actually console log the VM out and see all the things it does. Awesome. What we want to really check out here is not really what the MVVM is. If you're doing a lot of PHP like Laravel, you're probably using the MVC build, but this is being built on the MVVM instead, so model view model. And you can read more about it here, but I'm just quickly going to skip that part because that's not what the video is about. Down here, data and methods, we've been through some of these, and again, it's a good idea to just go through them at this point because now you probably understand them better than you would before. But what I really want to look at is this down here, the instance lifecycle hooks and what they actually are, because we can use them in more than one way. We can use them in how we want to present or grab our data, for example, from a database, or if we want to do some animations with JavaScript or with CSS or Sass, something like this, then we can actually use these lifecycle hooks. Now, lifecycle hooks, basically, it's like, if you know from a business, it starts at some point and then it goes through different stages, and the end, then the business dies, right? Same procedure for this program here, or this Vue instance. It's kind of the same thing. Now, the diagram down here, if you scroll down, we'll just quickly go through it, and again, if you, as they state somewhere, if you don't really fully understand it, that's fine for now. But as you learn more, as you use it more, these things can actually help you quite a lot when you start creating your code, especially in this part here. So new Vue is us starting our code, right? So it's booting that up, and there's something called before create. So before everything is created for the user are being pushed out and everything. And in the case where we could actually use this could be if we are grabbing some data, for example, from Firestore. If I recall, we'll be doing this in the next series of this, where we'll actually be using the before create. So we grab the data, and we want the data from Firestore or Firebase before we actually load the page. Because it's needed for what we're doing at some point. Then we're doing this before everything else is created. So we're waiting for that data before we're creating the view. So we're not creating the view and then it can go like, you know, these loading wheels, and then the data comes, right? So we can actually put something in here and do this. Also in the next video, I'll show you the different lifecycle hooks here. Just again, real simple, but what they are. Created, same procedure is once it's created, we can do something, or it will do something. So what's happening when it's just the created part? It's actually looking for the EL option. So we have that here, right? So the EL. So that's the next part of what Vue is going to do for us. So it's going to ask, does it have a EL property or options? Yes, no. If it has yes, then go through it, start printing the template. If no, then you state something with $mounted, which we haven't covered yet. So that's, we can mount something that if you know something like you used to do with CDs, you could mount your CDs to your Windows machine without putting a CD in. I'm not telling you more than that, but yeah, that's kind of, we'll get back to that later hopefully, but that's just two things it does in the creative section, right? And then it goes into the compiling area where it's looking at rendering all the things we do, so printing out all the stuff we made here, or going through with all the code that is being initiated when we wanted to, so printing out if our array was already full of names and things like this. Before mount is similar to what we do if, let's see, before mount, actually we just you're probably not going to use this unless something really specific, these two. So we don't really want to understand them yet, as I stated up here, and just go past it. But down here we have this part here, the before update and updated version. So this, for example, is when we have things in here. This lifecycle hook is, we have, oh, where'd it go? The other one, there we go. We have our before update and updated version. Right now this is kind of before and I'm just going to refresh it. So before an update, and now it's being updated. So we're initializing something into our through our hook here, and then it kind of re-renders what we just did. So the HTML, the index. So this is kind of, it probably runs through a lot of these instances of this one here. So we change data, it re-renders everything and so on. And this updated is sort of like what we did here with our computer, our methods and so on. So we can also specifically target this, but again, they are already kind of being done behind this, done behind the scenes. But again, if we want to be very specific, we can target these specific areas like before create, which is some of the things. So created, before create, before update, and update is probably the ones you're going to be looking into most if you're really specifically wanting to use these, other than just relying on Vue already set up for us. The last two down here is something called before destroy and destroyed. So basically here Vue is destroying the instance of Vue. So it's just starting to not delete, but close down the, well, maybe also delete, close down all the events, the watches, your methods, your everything. So it's just done, right? So whenever everything is done that we ask Vue to do, it just stops, so it doesn't stress the browser or server or whatever is running more than it has to, or app on phones or whatever you're doing. So once we're done with something, it just goes bang, you're done, end it. So we don't do extra load for whatever system is running it. So that's kind of some of the different hooks we go through. It's like 8 in total. 8 in total. And again, we're going to be using some of these going forward, but just a few of them, maybe 2 or 3, 4 maybe. And especially when we're going to, in a next few videos, when we're going to use the animation, we're going to use some of these before, after things happen to do the animations like we have here. So this is the initial one, the excellent one, that goes in like poof, bang, and it moves it on something with A, and it moves the other two with the animation, right? So we're going to use some of these hooks here to change this, the styling of this. All right, in the next video, I'll just quickly show you examples using the console log, what they are and when they happen. See you in the next video.